What's up, Tribe 2.0? What's going on? So, this is going to be the conclusion of Indigo. We've already done the live, but for anybody that doesn't want to sit through the whole live and everything, here's the conclusion chapters 21 and 22. So, chapter 21, we're still cleaning out Hester's home. We know that B is the traitor. Oh, sorry, y'all. Oops. We know that B is the traitor. They get her out of town because of course, there gonna be some people that don't understand her. That it was her child, and all the reasoning. Hester being a better woman, she's definitely gonna look out for her friend. So also we start seeing that there's this campaign against Shu and Greer. Greer was the other slave catcher. Somebody burned down the stable. Somebody poisoned the dogs. We found out where the origin of the term hush puppy comes from. It was actually a little cocktail that they used to give. I don't know if it's the origin, but it's another meaning for the word for the term hush puppies. It was a little cocktail given to the hound dogs that would take away their sense of smell, and they wouldn't be able to hunt anymore. It made basically rendered the dogs useless. Um, Jeanette comes down, but listen, Jeanette realized that manual labor is not her forte. She was like, I really want to help clean Hester's house, but I'm gonna go over in this kitchen and help make some sandwiches, okay? And we find out, I think we found out in the other chapter, but I might not have said it, that Jeanette is actually in love with Raymond's brother. And so she's even more happy about this situation because she was like, this frees her up to marry who she really want to marry anyway. So we'll revisit Jeanette at a later time. I mean, not in this book, but at a later time. All right. Um, Lim was also killed. They found him in the river with the words traitor burned across his chest so that everybody would know who he was. And so later on that day, Hester is cleaning out her house and Foster and Jenny come rolling up and they're frantic. Well, Jenny's frantic. And she's like, listen, I just saw the sheriff. Your husband is under arrest. We need to go check it out. Now, Hester has a bodyguard, so the bodyguard tells her, "Listen, you go ahead and run the town with Foster and Jeanette, and I'm gonna go back to the house and I'm gonna find out what's going on, and we'll meet you at the sheriff's station." So they take off, and after they clear, they're a few minutes down the road. Jeanette pulls out a gun, and Foster dumb butt talking about some, "Oh, good, good, good. Yeah, we might need that. That's good, good thinking." And she was like, child by this gun is for y'all. Pull over, and we're gonna tie her up and so forth. And what we find out is that Jeanette has been working with Lim all along. They knew each other long time ago. Jeanette basically is a little hoe, and she had herself she was a man's mistress over in England, but he had died and she had run out of money, and that was why she was coming back to America. She basically picked Foster because Foster was headed to um Whitaker, and she knew that's where Lim was, and she was like, "Oh well, hell, look at the gods have shown, shine down on me, and I'm gonna end up where I want to be anyway." So her and Lim wasn't some little fling. They knew each other going way back, way back. Um, Come to find out, Foster hadn't even slept with Jeanette Child, and so now Foster gonna look at Hester talking about something. So you really weren't with Vashon at the school? She was like, no, fool, it was her and Lim. And so now, of course, he is all kinds of sorries and feeling stupid and feeling like he was duped. And what we find out is that Jeanette is delivering her to Shu. Shu promised her enough money for her to go west and start a new life. And of course, now Foster is like, well, you would do that to your own people. You would do that to you. And she was like, I don't care about y'all like that. Like, they say all skin folk ain't kin folk. You know what I'm saying? So I don't even care about all of that. I don't, nope, you know. And soon enough, Shu rolls up, and of course he's like, I got a warrant for your arrest. And she was like, but I have my free papers. And he was like, I got them papers. But of course, there's another copy that's filed with the sheriff, but he don't care about that. I mean, he didn't go through the sheriff. And she said, well, that's not me. And he said, well, show me your hands, because the slave I'm looking for got blue hands. So show me your hands, or purple hands, or whatever. And so, of course, she has to they force her to take her gloves off, and of course, she has the purple hands. Come to find out that the lady that helped her escape ended up basically turning on them. She once was an ally, now she's an enemy because her husband done ran off with one of them slave girls, honey. And you know, ain't nothing like a woman scorned. So she was like, yeah, all that out the door about slavery, and one of them slaves stole my husband. And so, nah, I ain't got no love for y'all no more. And so she basically told the story about the whole little ruse, and they figured it out. Um, and of course, they're making all these innuendos about what they're gonna do to Hester Child, you know. So he goes to give Jeanette her little pay. He give her $10 and she was like, "You promised me way more than this." And he was like, "Girl, please, like you ain't no better than her. The only reason why I'm even giving you anything is because I know that you was Lem's girl, and that was my brother. But trust and believe, if there was no connection, you wouldn't be getting shit, okay?" Oh, I didn't mean to cuss. You wouldn't be getting nothing. My bad, y'all. I didn't mean to cuss. And so Jeanette is upset, but of course, what's she gonna do about it now? Oh, I forgot. She had shot Foster because when Foster realized how badly he had been duped, honey, he tried to attack her, and she shot him with that gun. And she was like, "I don't know why men don't think that a woman with a gun will pull the trigger." And I was like, you know what, Jeanette, that is the one thing that I have agreed with you on, girl. Men be underestimating women. Listen, if she bold enough to pull a gun, don't underestimate whether she'll use it. Okay, okay. Um. So now by this time, Foster bleeding. Hester can't do nothing to help him because she got her hands tied behind her back. And then Shu rolls up, and then all the other stuff that I told y'all happened. So he leaves Jeanette and Foster there, and he takes Hester, and they get to riding because he was like, "We want to put as much distance between us and Vashon because we already know that when he find out what's going on, it's gonna be a whole nother problem." So they stopped to get water, and one of the men went up into the woods to go relieve himself. He never came back. So then Shu was like, "Go," sent one of his other guys, "You go up in there and find, old Billy Bob, find out what's going on. What he doing? What happened? Did something happen to him? Did he get caught up? Is there a line out there? Something what happened?" So Billy Bob goes up in there, and Billy Bob don't come back. So now Shu's starting to think, okay, something's up. Okay, so he sends two more men in there, but they actually come back. So he was like, okay, well maybe, I don't know. Next thing you know, baby, Galen and Raymond and his brothers then rolled up. Now everybody's hooded except for Galen, because I guess Galen was like, "What I don't do is care." And immediately Hester saw him, ran to him. Well, no, I'm sorry. First he put a gun to Hester's head, and they shot him. Okay, they shot him in the knee, shot him in the arm. They ain't kill him, but they shot him. And she runs up to Galen, and Galen pulls her up on the horse, and he tells Raymond, like, "Listen, do what you want. Like, I don't care. I got my wife. We headed home. Y'all do whatever y'all want with him. I don't even care." And we found out that Hester was pregnant, but she didn't tell Galen because she wanted to make sure. Because back then, wasn't like you could just go down to the CVS and go get you a test, honey. You had to make sure of some things. So she didn't want to get his hopes up. She wanted to wait. And on their way back to town, they done ran into Foster and Jenny. He done took Jenny to the sheriff. He done got Foster some medical attention. Okay, so now they back to the house, and while all this is going on, the raid at Harper's Ferry happens, and the book goes into really good detail explaining what happened down to the Harper's Ferry with John Brown and his accomplices, and this and this and this and that. Well, when the trial came around, Galen and his folk went down for the trial. He's very much in the abolition circles. He was friends with John Brown, all of that. So him and Raymond go down for the trial while Hester is at home. He knows she's pregnant now. So, of course, everybody is like, "Oh, she's pregnant. And when he comes back, it's this really fun scene with him and Raymond, bantering back and forth like brothers. And they're talking about they got this bet. And she's in the kitchen with Maxie, and they were like, "Well, what's the bet? What's the problem?" He was like, "When is your birthday?" And she got really quiet, and she was like, "I don't know." She was like, I always just celebrated the day that I came north, but I really don't know when my birthday is. And so it was a moment because again, you think about the fact that a lot of slaves had no birth date. I mean, they didn't know. And it certainly records were only kept for the purposes of the same way you would keep records on a horse or on cattle, because that's what they were seen as. And so, um, she he said, well, let's celebrate on Christmas. And she was like, Christmas? Like, it's already Christmas. He was like, all the more reason for me to double, spoil you even more. So Christmas rolls around. And of course, he buys her the sun, the moon, and the stars, child. She got a little bit of this, a little bit of that. He done bought stuff for the baby, all of that good stuff. So later on that night, they had dinner. He said, okay, it's time for cake. And she was like, I am full. Like, I cannot eat another thing. He was like, please humor me. Let me eat, at least just eat one piece. So she's like, okay, fine. So he tells her to close her eyes and all of that. So when she opens her eyes, there's a woman there holding a cake. And she was like, okay, I don't know this lady, but I think I know this lady, but I'm not sure if I know this lady. And the woman says to her, Christmas Day is your actual birthday. Baby has to face. And of course, Raymond and Galen are crazy because they're like, oh my gosh, she faded. Oh my gosh, And it's her mom. They had actually found her mother really by accident. They found her mother running a boarding house. She was still a slave, but she was running a boarding house for her master, earning some money to try to buy her freedom down in the Harper's Ferry area with John Brown's trial was. And come to find out that she had been, sold a couple of times, and she ended up there. And it was really quite by happenstance through conversation that they pieced it all together and realized that this was really her mom. So Galen, of course, bought her freedom and brought her to Michigan. And, Hester was like, can you stay? And she was like, well, I don't know, we may not get along. Like, you may not really like me. And she was like, listen, I'm about to have a baby. My baby need a grandmama. And my thing is this, I feel like even if you don't want your mama living in that house, because she said we got plenty of room here, which maybe they do, maybe they don't, but you got a whole empty house that you child, go on, let your mama move into that house. That's the house she would have lived in anyway if your daddy had ever been able to get free and bring y'all back north. You know what I mean? So that is the ending. It was a great story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said from the beginning, Beverly Jenkins is probably one of my favorite authors. I've read all of her books at least once. Most of them multiple times. Like Indigo, I have probably read this book. I don't even want to talk about it. And so I hope you guys enjoyed it. Some people have given me feedback, and it's all been really good feedback. A lot of you have even told me that you have reached out and started buying other Beverly Jenkins books. And so I appreciate that. That's what this is all about. Stay tuned for videos on what the next books are going to be. Peace.